Hello, and good morning from sunny London here. Welcome to our Drooms webinar. My name is Kamal and Michelle from Business Development Team here at Drooms. I have also my colleague with me.
Hi, I'm Michelle. Nice to meet you guys.
Hi, everyone. A reminder on questions during the webinar. Please ask your questions via the chat tool. We will have 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the session, and we will pick them up together with Michelle. Okay, so before we get started, I'd like to provide some background information on who we are, on who Drooms is. So we are the leading provider of secured cloud solutions in Europe, and we have a strong focus on innovation and technology. We've been in business since 2001, so nearly 20 years now. Gone a long way now. Headquartered in Frankfurt with in-house servers located in Germany and Switzerland. We are fully GDPR compliant and looking to work with you all on any capital market transactions where you do need a secure cloud solution. Over to Michelle.
All right, so I would suggest we dive straight into the topic of today on how to effectively manage your non-performing loan transactions on Drooms data rooms. So in the next 20 to 25 minutes, we will discuss how the government has tackled the current crisis, how you can index and upload your documents in Drooms, how to effectively manage your user section users, how to use the reporting section, and we'll also have a look at a fully customizable Q&A workflow that is provided by the platform and a feature called auto allocation.
Great, thanks. I'd like to start with the introduction now, what the UK government has done so far in the current crisis you're all facing. As you all know, the Chancellor has introduced the furlough scheme. That was introduced early days where the government 80% of furloughed staff salary. Now, this furlough scheme is coming to an end and will be replaced by another scheme where the contribution will be around 22%. That will have a huge impact on the NPL market in the UK. They've also introduced new loans. That's for businesses. However, they're government guaranteed. You know about the coronavirus business interruption loan scheme and also the bounce back loan scheme. Retail banks have also seen an increase of payment holiday requests. Those loans and mortgages have to be start paying again. Banks are now preparing for an increased number of defaults, and that will lead to a large number of NPLs. Now, those NPLs, they need to be managed by the bank correctly. So they can't keep them on the balance sheet. They have to take them off the books. And to do that, they have to regroup them together and find investors for those pools of loans. Being prepared will be very critical for banks. It's very important to, in the sale of loans or pools, and due diligence is also key. Data quality and accuracy, that becomes very vital for sale of transaction of an NPL pool. Now, we at Drooms, we specialize in these transactions. We are working already on live transactions in the NPL market in South Europe and do bring the expertise for a smooth transaction.
Exactly. Thank you, Kamal. So we at Drooms, we provide a secured platform and a simple, very user-friendly interface. And I hope you're going to see that in a second once I start sharing my screen. The Drooms Instant Access technology allows high-speed document processing, and our 24/7 in-house support team will guide you through your NPL transaction. And yeah, we're happy to assist. So let's dive straight into it. I hope you can all see my screen here. First things first, I'm going to log in with my user credentials using our web browser Access. And we are going to access the data room that I prepared for today, our residential mortgage NPL data room. For the ones that are new to Drooms, brief introduction. Here on the left-hand side, we have our cockpit. This is where you access the different modules. By default, you access straight away the index structure. This is where all your documents are saved and accessible.
Great, thanks. I'd like to spend some time on the index we've just created. I'll be using for as an example. We're looking at a pool of residential mortgages which have now become non-performing. We see individual loans here and have given them internal codes. Those codes are matched with loan IDs, for instance. Each of these loans have subfolders or documents. And to keep those index standardized, we have selected same document names for each of these categories. Those categories, they come from a template from the Bank of England, and the template is called Reporting Template for Residential Mortgage Pools. And that's what we use for this example. Also to point out, you can see two different colors here on the index. The folders here have light gray color and also a black color. Now, the light gray ones are the ones which have no content, and the black color ones are the loans with documents within those folders. And that's very helpful when it comes to multiple users uploading to different loans. Gives indication of which folders is empty and which folders already have documents in there. I'll pass on over to Michelle now to start with the first administrative task.
Yes, exactly. So we will start adding some content by using our drag and drop functionality. I already prepared a couple of documents folders here on my desktop, and I now simply highlight them and easily just drag and drop them into the data room. I have now here a little pop-up window where I can see a summary of what I just selected. I can see the size and if the documents are ready for upload.
Great. And here we can already see a first element of security here. The upload button is disabled, and Michelle has to manually select the permissions in the bottom right before she can upload documents. And this feature protects you from making mistakes, making permission mistakes, making documents available for any group which shouldn't see them.
All right. So what we can see now here is a green bar, and also on the top right-hand side in our notification section, we have a brief summary of what's happening in the data room. The upload is currently ongoing. So you can see here what exactly is happening. And once the upload has been completed, you can see the folder structure going to be replicated right here in the index. So we have our folder number 6 newly added with the Drooms indexing, the numbering, and folder number 7 about to come. Here we go. All right, I'll suggest that we jump straight into the user section. This is where I already created 2 user groups, 2 investor groups. But let's start from scratch and let's create a completely new investor group, my investor C. I can add email IDs right here, copy paste them. I can copy permissions from existing user groups if I would like to set up the same permissions as for investor A, for example. But right now we don't want to set any permissions yet. We're just going to create a group from scratch. I click here on create group and then simply double click on a group, and I have a pop-up window here on the right hand side.
Great. Now we have created a new investor group, but just to confirm, I want to make sure what exactly can they see now in the data room?
At the moment, they can't see anything yet. This is summarized right here. So they have 0 items visible, printable, downloadable. They can also not edit anything. They have access to the data room, but once they access, they wouldn't see anything in the index structure. So obviously we want to change that now. So just click here on the button where it says set permissions, and the system brings me back to my index structure. And here we work now with those little icons, which I believe are pretty straightforward. We have the little I that stands for viewing rights. So I simply grant the investor group C viewing rights on all documents. I also want them to be able to print everything and also to download everything. But okay, let's assume there are a couple of documents that they are supposed to access and to review within the data room, but we don't want them to download them. So what we can do now is we can use the search bar, and I am going to search for the borrower information. And what I can see now here is 4 documents containing borrower information. And what I will do now is I will simply revoke the download as well as the printing rights. And now my investor C can access those documents, but only in the data room, and they cannot save or download anything. What is very interesting as well is this little pen. Let's assume you would like to invite the bank and you would like the bank to upload documents themselves. So basically you want to grant them, basically content management rights. This can be done by using the little pen here, and then we have 3 different kind of options. We have the full edit rights, we have the edit rights create with approval, create only, and the last option would be create with approval.
Great, interesting. So just to confirm again, we can grant any third party involved in uploading process the rights to upload into the index without having the same access like the admins have. And the admin group needs to approve those changes. So that's a very good, interesting feature. Great, so the preparation phase is now completed. We have invited our investors, we have uploaded documents, we have loans in the data room already. Now I'd like to move on to the second phase. And this is where I want to track the movement of the investors in the data room. And this can be done from an extensive report section. In this section, really, everything and anything is tracked. You see at the top a heat map showing us which loans have attracted the most views in this example. and a few other dashboards. At the bottom of the screen, you have a selection of reports with granular data. Now, here I want to spend a bit more time on the bottom part. Michelle, can you show us the most relevant report where I can track investor movement and what exactly are they looking at in the data?
Absolutely. So that would be the user activity history. Very important information for you as well. All those reports can be exported into Excel, and all of them can also be part of your final archive once the transaction has been completed. So let's just have a quick look at the user activity history. Just submitting the report, and what I can see now here is a date and timestamp. I can see the user group name, the username, email ID, action taken, index point, and page. So here you can literally track everything and anything that has been done by, for example, the different investors invited to the data room, and we can even see which page they access. So let's assume you have a very big document. You would like to find out if they just clicked on the very first page or if they have been actively scrolling through the document.
Great. So here, another example where you get sometimes investors clicking through the data room just to stay in the process. And here we can see what page number they've actually seen, and not just clicking through the whole document. Great. I'd like to focus now on the user perspective, the end user perspective, really. It's the same look and feel, just stripped off the user section, and also the extended report section is not available for the end user. I'd like to start with the index now. Here on the index, we can easily expand the whole entire folder structure with one click. And this is very easy for you to unclick and click again to see the whole index structure. I'd also like to show you a key feature here where you can simply filter for Excel files. At the top left, you have the search bar where you can filter for just your financials with one or two clicks. And with a few more clicks, you have filtered for all Excel files in the data room.
All right. Let me just close that here once again. So obviously the index is also the starting point for me to review the document set that has been shared for me to review. So what I'll do now is I'll use our search bar to search for a specific keyword. Drooms is applying optical character recognition to every document that is uploaded into the data room. Even if you have bad scan quality, the system reads through the content, tries to understand it, and will show you a search result. So if I search now, for example, let's say LTV, as I would like to see the loan to value ratio, I can see I have a couple of results here in my list. The very first document contains LTV in the title, but the other ones actually contain LTV in the context. So I can continue my search right here. I have a couple of times LTV, which is highlighted in yellow, very helpful indeed. So while I'm here in the document, let me show you a couple of other features. So I can easily print and save if I have the rights to. Other than that, I can expand the view if I work, for example, with my tablet in the garden, or I just have a very small screen. I can also easily compare two documents at the same time, just scroll through them. I can also, for example, jump, let's say, into page 45, which is pretty fast, instant access technology. And I can also set a status. So let's assume I'm going on my lunch break and I return. I would like to know where I've just stopped. I just use the status in review and I'll find the document easily again. Very interesting as well is our translation tool. So let me just jump into, let's say, page number 2. And I click here on the little globe. This is where we have a couple of languages available. Let's just select Spanish quickly and use our translation functionality, which is an in-house built tool, very strong and very helpful for you to understand the content, especially if you work with cross-border deals or, let's say, for example, loans in multiple languages. Great.
Yes, I just want to point out that for investors, it's easy to translate foreign language documents if you have one couple of mouse clicks. So that's a really good feature. While Michelle was searching for keywords, and you can see really a couple of vital elements on our platform here. The instant access technology, as Michelle already mentioned, you could see that she clicked through the document, it loaded instantly, page 40, page 10, without any delays really. She was also able to navigate through the platform without having to use too many clicks. So here you would save a lot of time, the user friendliness comes in place, and you can also see how simple the tool is to use.
All right, I would also like to mention the little plus sign down here quickly. This is where you can create a bookmark. So see it as a note to yourself. You can highlight a specific section, use a color, And just like, yeah, this is my note, save it and access it at a later stage again. Other than that, you can also ask a question, highlight a specific section, and this already brings us to the next topic, which is the Q&A module.
Exactly, great. So this is where I want to spend a bit more time on the Q&A part as well. The Q&A part allows you to allows investors to ask questions and for you to provide responses to those questions, all on the platform. So you're not sending emails around. And it's a pretty transparent and a fully auditable way to communicate between both parties here. I'd also like to point out that you can, as an investor, you can also ask follow-up questions, and it appears as a chat functionality. So you don't really have to ask new questions, but you can follow up with an existing question and answer. Our 24/7 support team will, of course, assist you in setting this workflow up once you're ready to go live. We will assist you with best practice in creating the right workflow for your deal.
I would suggest that we dive a bit more into detail. In the very first step, obviously, we have to build and configure our workflow, distinguishing between the buy side and the sell side participants. So what you can see here is the very first page. This is where you start. On the left-hand side, by default, you have your questionnaire team set up. What you can do, you could add, for example, a selection team. So that would be someone of the questionnaire team in charge of submitting the questions to the answer side. So this person, let's assume, for example, the management, would review the questions, would decide if they're really relevant before they're brought forward to the different answer teams. Then we have our Chinese wall here. The next team involved on the answer side is the distribution team. So the distribution team receives all the questions and then hands them over to the different answer teams in charge. This is also another way of delegating tasks and assigning them to the different parties involved. So we then have our different answer teams in charge, and then afterwards we can add up to 6 levels of approval, just to give you an idea of the complexity we can map. In my case scenario, I just selected 1 level of approval. So this is the management of the answer side, receiving all the answers, approving them, and then sending them back to the questioner side, where then the questioner could potentially add a follow-up question, for example. So this is how the workflow looks in the very first step.
Great, yes. Just want to point out again that all information exchanged on the Q&A, or especially the Q&A, will be recorded on the final data archive. And also all reports exported to Excel we will later attach to the SPA. That's including declaration of identity.
Let's have a look at a fully rolled out workflow. So if I just click on configure workflow, I can see my chart and I can see the different teams that are involved now. So here on the right-hand side, I have a display of the users that we've already set up in the user section, and I can simply add them to the workflow by dragging and dropping. I already did that, so I already prepared the whole workflow, and I believe it's pretty straightforward. Here on the left-hand side, we have 3 different questionnaire teams bringing forward their questions. We then have a distribution team distributing the questions to the different answer teams in charge. In my case scenario, I've built 4 different answer teams. And then in the end, 1 level of approval, which is in our case, the compliance team, and they will then approve the answer and it goes back to the question side. Let's have a quick look at the settings, which is our step number 3, because here we can define a couple of more details and settings for the different teams involved. So if we have a look, for example, at our investor A, I can set a question limit. For example, 10 questions per day, per month, per week. I can also allow the questionnaire to save and print attachments, meaning the answer teams can attach completely new files to their answers and then allow the questionnaires to print and save them. Very helpful. Other than that, the answer teams can also link to already existing index points in case the document is already available in the data room. If I now just click, for example, on our legal team, I can also allow the teams to reassign questions between each other. So that's very helpful if, for example, the legal team doesn't know the answer, the team can simply hand over the question to, for example, the tax team, and they will then be in charge. Another very interesting factor information for you guys is that if you are part of a distribution team, which is Kamal in this case here, and also part of the compliance approval team, you have the higher authority. So in case a question comes in and you see you can reply to the question straight away yourself, you can skip the whole answer process, take over the item, reply to the question, and yeah, just skip all the answer teams, which is pretty helpful. Yeah, and once you're happy, you just click on done, you activate your Q&A, and obviously the support team is happy to assist in building the workflow and customize it, depending on your needs.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Thanks for explaining this Q&A in detail. It was very extensive. Again, I want to point out that our support team will be with you on this process from start to end, and will be configured together with you. Before we end the session now, we'll look at our auto allocation, as pointed out earlier, and that will assist in mapping documents to predefined index points. And this will make uploading documents into individual loans much easier.
Nowadays, everyone speaks about automation. That's really a thing. And we in Drooms, we would like to increase productivity and efficiency, of course, by implementing features that help you with your tasks. So this is where the game changers come into play. A great example is, as Kamal just mentioned, our auto allocation functionality. And I'd like to give you an example. So I'm going to jump into another data room where I already prepared something for you guys. So just a second, I'm accessing my portfolio data room and my auto allocation asset. So let me give you an example. Here you can see a by Drooms trained index structure. This means files have been manually allocated. The system used the optical character recognition to read the content and to understand why a file belongs to specific index points. And that basically works with any kind of document, even scans. So the system then just learns the context and the connection. And this allows us basically to do the same with any file that has not even been named properly. So I prepared a couple of files here, and I'm going to use our auto allocation feature. Just right click, select upload, allocate files, and then I drag and drop my documents into here. You can see they're not really named in a nice way. Just select my auto allocation, click on upload, and we can simply, drag and drop our docs in there, and the data room uses the trained algorithm to allocate the files at the right spot.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Now, while this auto allocation is loading, I'd like to point out that this whole exercise was an example of a residential mortgage pool. You might have other pools. I'll be happy to speak to you on your examples of loans and discuss best practice for segmenting these loans into indexes and also assisting you in managing these transactions. I'd also like to summarize what we've covered today. We've covered what exactly the UK government has introduced to support us in this crisis. We've looked at uploading documents into a predefined index. We also looked at user access management, how you manage and invite users, and also give them permissions to download or view documents. We've monitored the process and had a look at the full audit trail on the reporting section. And also, finally, we looked at a Q&A workflow, which was very, very much in detail. And that will allow you to respond to questions on the platform. Now, I'd like to show you the result for the auto allocation. Michelle, can you have a look at how exactly it looks like now?
Yes. So the very first file has been allocated already. So I'm simply clicking here on the index points to confirm. So I can see my document right here, but obviously I also want to know where it has been allocated. So I would like to see my tree structure. So just click here on the index view, and I can see now my document has been allocated to the strategy. Just closing the notifications bar here. And if I click on my document, let's see. Oh, wow, great. It's containing strategy details. So obviously, category strategy, index point strategy is perfectly fine. So I'm happy with my allocation. Just click here under the little tick, and the selected file has been confirmed. The second document, let's just have a look. What about the other one? All right, let's see where the system allocated it. Here we go, governance and governance. Cool, perfect. That's also allocated to the right spot. I'm going to accept it, and we're happy.
Great, thank you. So we've seen a very good example on how the system recognized documents content and assigned them the right index points. So again, that's a really good tool to have. We're coming to the end of the session now. Thank you everyone for joining. I'd like to hand over to the floor for any questions you may have. Just have a look if you do have any questions.
I'm here in the questions section, but seems like everyone is a bit shy.
That's okay. If there are no further questions, maybe I can, or me and Michelle can ask questions to each other, like the common questions asked, or maybe you want to get more information. So I'm just creating a scenario here. In this scenario, I'm the advisor. I've got access to a data room now. but I want my client to have full visibility, and the client could be a bank in this example. Full visibility in the Q&A section. So I don't want them to have too much control, but I want them to see all questions and all responses. So how exactly can I do that, Michelle?
So in this case scenario, I would suggest to set up the bank basically as a visitor in the Q&A. So we have a visitor role available. The visitor can oversee the Q&A, but not actively participate. Another idea would be to set up the bank as an approver. So the bank would have the responsibility to approve the answers before they go back to the questionnaire side. You could also set them up as a distribution team in case they're in charge of distributing questions. So there are a couple of different options, but I'm happy to discuss more in detail with with you and your team.
Sure, great. I like the first part where my client is a visitor and has a full overview of the whole Q&A process. So I really like that. I think we have a question from the audience. I'm just going to read this out now. Do you provide further service other than the platform? I think that's a very good question to ask. Michelle, maybe you want to comment on our service and support overall we provide?
Yes. So other than the customer support, the technical support, and on the platform, we also have a services and structuring team, mainly based in Frankfurt. They help you with organizing your index tree, for example, your index structure. They also do scanning tasks. So if you have printed documents that need to be digitalized, we offer this kind of service.
Great. I've also spoken to a client of mine yesterday where they wanted additional service in terms of meeting all support or meeting myself and just going through the details of indexing in detail. So that's something we can also do. We can come on site, meet you guys, understand your workflow, and provide assistance and advice on how to index, or give best practice on indexing your index.
Yeah, also when it comes to reporting, I have a couple of projects where I'm creating spoken reports. So reports that are not available or a bit more expensive than the ones we offer on the platform. So the support team and the project management team is happy in doing so and helping you with your specific requests.
Great, thank you. Just checking if you have any further questions. We don't, but maybe I can ask another question on the platform, or what's maybe useful. So again, an example where my client has not used Drooms as much, and I want my logo, company logo, to be on the platform, so that my client feels comfortable when they log in and they see my company logo and not anything else. So can we do that? Can we have branding or assign branding of my company to the platform?
Yes, Drooms does that. So in your settings section on the bottom left-hand side, you can customize your project. You can upload a project image, you can upload a company logo and icon. You could even upload terms and conditions. So that would be a PDF document that is displayed to the user once accessing the data for the very first time. The user then has to actively accept the document, otherwise he or she will not be able to access the index structure. So these are a couple of possibilities for you to customize your project.
Great, thank you, Michelle.
I already have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
And I think then we're done for today. So the residential mortgage example that you just gave us, the loans, the documents, obviously, they are they contain very sensitive and very personal data. So what are the Drooms security standards that are in place? Can you give me some more details, please?
Sure. Security is our number one priority, really, at Drooms. It's very important to us. As mentioned earlier, we are fully GDPR compliant. We also are ISO certified. Our servers are maintained and owned by Drooms, so we don't use any third-party servers, so no third party has access to your data. The servers are located, as I mentioned, in different regions in Germany and Switzerland. Our technical and customer support team is also directly carried out by Drooms. So again, we have 24/7 support, but we don't use any third parties to assist on that. So all Drooms employees. Also have an option for two-factor authentication. That's essentially you logging in or your clients logging in with a user and password, and we add another level of authentication where they receive an SMS code, which you need to enter to access the data room.
Sounds very secure. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just gonna wrap up now. Thank you everyone for joining. Looking at time, we're coming to an end. Again, please get in touch if you need more information on your NPL transactions. We're more than happy to assist and guide you through the process. Thank you for joining the webinar. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye.